I am more than encouraged to invite a very learned and veteran in this domain, Sri Shogata Roy, to share his opening comments on this historical perspective of how things have moved, how things could have gone wrong, and how things are going right today, and what's in store for the future.
Is the prospect of education in Eastern India. We are sitting here in the auditorium of a private management institute run by the R.P. Sanjeev Goenka Group, who we know run many business enterprises, and it controls Calcutta through the Calcutta Electric Supply Corporation, which it owns. Now, when speaking about Eastern India, young Dr. Basu has started from Nalanda and Bikramshila because they belong to Bihar, and they are great institutions in ancient times. With the defeat in the Battle of Plassey, the British East India Company first established their kingdom in Eastern India. We know that that went through the changes, and in 1857, the British Empire directly took over the rule of Bengal from the Eastern India Company. But one of the things that came with the British coming here is the spread of English education. So they needed English knowing natives. There is a lot of debate on this. You must have all read about Lord Macaulay, who was the education secretary. Macaulay said that it's true. Macaulay said, I quote, that it is true that Indians will be exposed to the liberating ideas of the West through English education. But all I can say that because of exposure to English education, Bengal led the Indian Renaissance in the 19th century. You'll realize how the concept of nationalism first came through Bengal to India. Even long before the Indian National Congress was established, Bengali thinkers were talking about nationalism, about the concept of a bigger India. We must have education which provides jobs. And there is scope.
There is going to be a change in the way we are going to approach education if we are going to make a meaningful progress. Because our education system so far has been predominantly information rich, rote learning. It needs to move from that stage from rote learning to an insight rich, analytical, and this is where liberal art would perhaps be the quantum change that it can bring in. Because machines, today everything what I knew, 1857 Battle of Plassey, Google knows. So my point is whether I know the basic ground rules of Plassey and I am able to utilize them.
We are going into a society which will be information rich and technology intensive. And you know, there is what is known as the Industrial Revolution 4.0. It means artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain technology. And this speaks of technology at a higher level and Internet of Things. Now, whether we can prepare people for that sort of that level of knowledge.
So in this scenario, many would believe that the educational ecosystem in India and especially in Eastern India would be intrinsically linked to the industrial ecosystem in this part of the country. What are your thoughts on it?
Employment is going to come in from perhaps three other areas. The I's, the E and S. I standing for innovation, E for entrepreneurship, and S for startups.
Startups.
This is one area, and this is where we have talent is something which was always in abundance, even today. Opportunities, yes. We are seeing a very different India that is coming in. One of the basic purpose, sir has mentioned about Vivekananda. We have tremendous amount of soft power which can be leveraged. Whatever you can take, deindustrialize us however way you can. You can never take out Buddha, you can never take out Chaitanya, you can never take out Ramakrishna. And these days, another very huge capital, sir, you would definitely agree. There are two other elements which if we can build up, and liberal arts is going to be the way, key to it, is perhaps wellness and spirituality.
And as a woman, possibly not many Indian girls and women are so privileged to have come to this position. But yes, Eastern India has delivered, yes, Kolkata has delivered, and yes, the state system has delivered in its own way. Well, as far as data, as far as information is concerned, whatever we say today is available on the internet. So I do not want to add to your share of information overload minorities. So Bengalis have been the home of other communities prospering through their education system, through their business system. And that has been possible because of the open mindset that Bengal, Eastern India offers.
Let's focus on the fact that the recognition on the part of the government is hardwired into a new kind of DNA, and that the powers that be have accepted that education is important for the growth and development of the state, and something has to be done about it, and they are doing so. And I think this more and more students pan-India are beginning to zero in on premier institutions in Bengal. For example, and I'd like to cite this because I have the facts, the admission statistics in my college indicate that the number of out-of-state students is significantly increasing. And the numbers this year peaked almost alarmingly. And as I mentioned a little earlier, financial competitiveness. So if you look at it carefully, I believe we are on the verge of change. And this change, I believe, is a signpost of the rising importance of education in our state. And this brings me back to that point I was wanting to make earlier, that the indicators that signal the rising importance of education are all in place. And we have quite a few examples of this. A new curriculum with flexible student choices. We've already put that into place. Then greater student involvement in the teaching learning process, preparing students for life and not for exams to which they go learning things by heart. No. Then more and more calibrated emphasis on research, consultancy, and of course, as Mr. Tuhin pointed out, interface with industry. And then offering subjects and disciplines that are contemporary to the times, supported by adequate and appropriate infrastructure, trained faculty, and planning and investment. And then finally, developing, an academic mindset aimed at nurturing talent, not suppressing it, so as to encourage entrepreneurship and innovation.
The question is whether the cohort of students who are passing out from the institutes here measure up to their counterparts in other areas. See, the very important word which you mentioned about employability. And if you look at the dictionary, the employability meaning is the ability to be suitable for a paid work. That's the dictionary meaning of Oxford dictionary about employability. It's very difficult to put an absolute number of employability for all of them. So I would put it in a scale of 1 to 10. And my answer will be nobody is unemployable. No one in this world is unemployable. They fit in the scale of 1 to 10. If we compare both these scales of employability and employability, then how do we find a solution to that? And what are the opportunities available for all of us in who are in Eastern India now. One is that, see, as far as the educational institutions and students are, once I have the top talent, I would, from the industry, would like to move this top talent towards the right side of the needle and make them better and better, so that they get better opportunities within the same industry, or they can go outside opportunities, so that I can bring more people into the system. That is something which industry can do. The other one is today.
First thing that I would point out is there are 3 A's I'd like to talk about. First is approaches, the second is assessment systems, and the third is aptitude. So that first thing that I would point out is there are 3 A's I'd like to talk about. First is approaches, the second is assessment systems, and the third is aptitude. So that
We like it or not, it is as much a part of a structure that we have to build upon. So NBA, when we are measuring grading graduation outcomes, it's not just placements. They have a component for entrepreneurship also. So finally, it's what are your placements like? How many entrepreneurs do you have? And how many of your students are pursuing research? So 3 components together define our graduation outcomes. And the first time we went in for this accreditation, we went back to our alumni, okay, tell us where are you placed, what are you doing, any entrepreneurship startups that you have engaged in. So intrinsically, they have been woven into a part of the B school system. Commerce graduates, we want liberal arts. Sometimes we even get people from nutrition, literature. So all of these together. And academic diversity again comes from 30%, of the total weightages that we put for our scores. So in different ways, I believe, the structures, the systems have merged them so that as a B school, when we measure our progression, they're inherently interwoven into it.
On and on. I mean, we have done as a panel, we have done a fantastic job in terms of touching upon each and every dimension. We have actually dissected the topic and tried to touch upon each and every dimension, but we have done a very bad job in terms of keeping the time. But nevertheless, in the words of Nelson Mandela, he once said that education is the most important weapon with which you can change the world.